What if design was more than what we see? What if it was how we feel and connect with the world around us? Join us as we explore the invisible thread between branding, culture, and creativity, uncovering how design shapes our stories, identities, and the way we move through the world. Welcome to the PhD with Women on IT, Hack the Future. My name is Jimil De Varosa, and today's PhD Positivity Hack delivered will be by our guest, Debbie Millman. Our topic for today is the art of influence, branding, culture, and the human story. Episode 196 starts here. Let me remind you, this is a grassroots community that focuses on women in IT, an inclusive forum of women in technology, startups, and female leaders who are supported by men as well. And I bring heart to that hustle because empathy is my mojo, and empathy is critical in the art of influence. Before we start our discussion, I want to take a moment to shine a spotlight on some incredible achievements from our community. Join our former PhD guest, Chair Anderton, as she will be one of the panel of Women's Empowerment Panel and Mixer, Wellness in Action, an evening of real talk on balance, burnout, and community care with other inspiring local women entrepreneurs and wellness experts. Today at 5:30 to 8 p.m. at Monarchy, downtown Phoenix. Best of luck, Chair. Huge congratulations to Ada Nduka Oyom, founder of She Code Africa, for a successful presentation at HP's 2025 Peach Fest last October 21. This event marks the culmination of a 6-month journey in the HP Digital Equity Accelerator, a testament to your dedication to advancing digital inclusion. AI access, and the future work of work across Africa. Your mission to close the digital gender gap continues to inspire women and change makers everywhere. We can't wait to see your impact take centers on stage. Now let's go back to our topic, the art of influence, branding, culture, and human story. In this episode of Positivity Hack Delivered, we'll have a conversation with Debbie Millman, named one of the most creative people in business by Fast Company, one of the most influential designers working today by GDUSA, and a woman of influence by Success Magazine. As the host of award-winning podcast Design Matters, Debbie has spent nearly 2 decades dissecting the human side of creativity. She also chaired the first ever Masters in Branding program at the School of Visual Arts, editorial director of printmag.com, co-publisher of therumpus.net, and the author of 8 books, a recipient of the Cooper Hewitt National Design Award and AIGA Lifetime Achievement Awards. She continues to shape how we think about design and meaning. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Debbie. Hello, Debbie. Thank you so much for
Hello.
joining us, and it's been an honor to have you here on our show. And
Thank
to
you so much
start,
for having me.
where in the world are you today?
I'm in New York City, New York, New York.
The title of this episode is The Art of Influence. Having been named one of the most influential designers, what does influence mean to you personally, and how has that definition evolved over the course of your career?
Influence for me is a responsibility. If I am being recognized for my work or for an accomplishment, it is up to it behooves me to not use that influence and that recognition in a way to help others, to support others, to stand up for what's right, and to make the world a better place. Is hard as that might be for for an individual, I feel that if I can use my influence to influence others, it just magnifies the power and opportunity that we all have if we believe in similar things and have similar values.
You've spent nearly 2 decades dissecting the human side of creativity through design matters. What is the single most surprising universal truth or human story you've observed about successful creativity that keeps you interviewing after all this time?
Well, I'm endlessly fascinated by what makes people feel the need to make something from nothing, and being able to understand that motivation is my life's work. And there are a couple of common denominators. I think that the most creative people in the world seem to be never satisfied with what they're creating. They always seem to want to be creating more. And I don't know that that's necessarily a search for accomplishment or accolades. I think it's more about feeling the life force through making. To feel most alive when they are making something, as opposed to being lauded for that making of something. And then the other really interesting common denominator is that I find that the most creative people in the world still feel insecure about what they're making. They worry about how it's going to be received, what their work might mean or not mean, what their purpose is. And in some ways, it gives me a little bit of comfort to know that even the greatest makers and artists and thinkers in the world are still searching for better ways to make their mark.
And when you're interviewing a major creative figure, it might help me. What technique or mindset do you use to move past the surface level professional persona and encourage them to tap into the real, honest human story?
Well, it comes a lot from the work that I do prior to the actual interview. I am somebody that really does a lot of research and preparation before an interview. And so my first questions tend to be one that I hope will surprise and delight my guest. And I always love it when they say something like, "Oh, where did you find that?" or "How did you get that information?" And while it might help put them at ease by making them laugh or smile, I think it also does a much more important job, which is to show how diligently I've done my work ahead of time, so that because I do know this little thing that might have been hard to find or discover, that if I know that, then I've really done my homework and done my research. And I think that allows them to enter into the interview in a way that is more trusting of what we can do in that time together.
In an era where we are overloaded with visual noise and constant information, what is the role of simplicity and constraint in creating communication that truly breaks through and influence cultures?
There's no one answer to that question. If there was, everything would break through because everybody would know exactly what to do. It's really a matter of a combination of timing, understanding the zeitgeist, understanding the cycles of attention, understanding how to break through existing patterns of recognition, which is really hard to do. I mean, humans see things in a very specific order. They see color first, then they see shape, then they see numbers, and then if they are still paying attention and they understand the language, maybe they'll read, and then may or may not believe what they're reading. So it's really about having a very single-minded message that people can understand, being differentiated enough so that people don't confuse your product with another, and then that much more amorphous, very intangible ingredient, which is the right timing. And that is something that you can never really predict, although you can certainly be monitoring culture to see when it might be best or how it might be best to introduce something. But that's a very mysterious ingredient that I am definitely not one that has the answer to for that one.
Okay? And you've discussed the branding of political and social movements. What's the key difference between a movement that is authentically branded and gains momentum versus one that feels forced or purely performative?
Well, if it feels that way, it is. It might feel that way and not be, but chances are, if it feels that way, if we all get that sort of spidey sense that something isn't authentic or genuine or real, then it's not. You can't be authentic. You are authentic. If you have to be authentic, you're already putting on a persona. You're already crafting something that is manufactured that you want to communicate. You have to be able to behave the way you are, and then that will be perceived as authentic or inauthentic. You can't just be authentic. And I think that is one of the most overused words right now in society. Authenticity isn't something you put on like a dress. You have to embody authenticity. And then no matter what dress you're wearing, you will be authentic.
Oh, that's so nice. Beyond major brands, what is one seemingly small or ephemeral cultural artifact right now? A trend, a social media feature, or a meme that you think tells a surprisingly big story about the current culture?
I think any of the Trump memes we've been seeing, I'm not exactly sure when this will be airing, but so I don't want it to seem, old news or over reported, but probably by then there'll be new things that are communicated. Those memes tell us everything we need to know about society today. They're undignified, they're impolite, they're mean spirited, they're crass. Um, and this is the time that we're living in, which makes me very, very sad because we could be using all of the power of communication in ways that tries to bring people together as opposed to isolate, exclude, um, point fingers at, and otherwise excommunicate people from a society that we all belong to. So I think that what we're seeing right now is the very worst of communication techniques that we're coming up with. It's very, very, very heartbreaking.
Success Magazine named you a woman of influence. For women who are doing excellent work but are struggling to gain professional visibility, what is the single most actionable step they can take to boost their influence?
By trying to offer something um, that other people can relate to. Most of the time, we're trying to show off and show
Mhm.
off our accomplishments. I think if we share more of our vulnerabilities, more of our concerns, more of the work behind the work, I think that that is much more helpful and intriguing to people. If you can share what you're feeling authentically, and again, I'm using that word with quotes around it, you can encourage others to have the courage to do that as well. Encourage is such a good word because it's really embodying courage in other people. And I think a lot of people wait for confidence. They think, oh, when I feel better about this or when I feel more confident about myself, I'll do that. What I can tell you is that confidence really doesn't come off the shelf. You can't, in the same way you can't put on a dress and become authentic, you can't go into a supermarket and pick confidence off the shelf. In order to develop confidence, you need to actually do that thing that will ultimately result in confidence enough time. So I define confidence as the successful repetition of any endeavor. So you aren't born with confidence. You don't pick it up, you develop it over experience. And so I often use driving a car as an example. Whenever we start to first learn how to drive a car, to get behind the wheel, the steering wheel, we're nervous because we haven't done it before and we're not experienced at it. And we worry about all the possible bad things that could happen. As we then learn how to drive, we develop car confidence. And when we've been driving for a long enough time, we have full on car confidence. We get into a car, we turn on the ignition, we drive. We don't worry about not having the confidence to drive because we've developed it enough. What we need initially is the ability to step into the courage of the unknown. And if we can step into that courage to develop confidence over time, we will ultimately have confidence. So I think that the big um, misnomer is that we need to have confidence before we start something. We have to feel confident and then do something. What we need to do is have courage first, do it, and that will build confidence.
Oh, that's so nice. And we have a question from our viewers from Jane. She says, "Hello, ladies. Looking forward to listen for this episode. And how do you think younger generations are redefining what it means to live a meaningful life?"
I think living a meaningful life is one wherein you feel courage to be able to continue to try to do new things, that you can rely on yourself enough to be able to step into uncertainty and experiment with risk and know that that uncertainty isn't going to in any way let you down. That for me is the holy grail. Step into the unknown, do things you haven't done before, work to develop new skills, grow in new ways, and not feel like you have to wait for this magical confidence to show up in order to feel empowered to do that. So to be empowered by courage as opposed to confidence.
Okay. And based on your experience observing career paths in business, what advice would you give to females who want to accelerate their career or start an entrepreneurial journey?
My advice would be to do it. Learn as much as you can about what it is you want to do. Look for other people that might be doing something similar that you can ask if you can learn from or be mentored by. Read as much as you can. Lifetime learning is so important to stay on top of your game and to feel connected with what's happening out in the world and practice. So accelerating one's career doesn't happen in accelerated spurts. I feel like it happens in regular, consistent steps up the mountain. I don't know of any shortcuts. You can sometimes go faster, you can sometimes go slower, but I don't know that you can really take a giant leap and expect immediate success. I think success comes from consistent, regular learning, growing, experimenting, risk taking, and sharing.
Uh, what are the top three soft skills all career-driven females, in your opinion, should intentionally cultivate to achieve success?
Well, I think it takes more than three skills. I think it takes mastery. So mastery takes patience. Mastery also takes education. Mastery also takes quite a lot of um, stamina. I think it takes generosity in that you always have to be treating those around you with kindness and bringing people along with you in the same way that you want people to bring you along with them. I think it takes a bit of a competitive spirit to always feel like you need to be doing better or need to be doing more. And then I think it needs to be very much um, containing a level of gratitude or appreciation for what you do have before you keep pushing yourself to get more. Like, what do I have right now that I'm really grateful for, that I could share, that I could help teach, and as well as then continuing to develop the ways in which you want to move forward.
Influence often seems like a linear path, but we know it's not. Could you share a professional setback or failure that, in hindsight, proved critical in shaping your current perspective in leadership?
Sure. About 20 years ago, I was criticized online for the work that I was doing in branding on a website, a blog. And I thought it was the worst moment of my life, of my professional career at that point. I was essentially bullied online for my work and my beliefs about branding. And what I thought at the time was going to be the reason I got fired from my job and sort of shunned out by the design and branding community turned out to be one of the most significant moments in my life. I joined the conversation where I was being criticized, and as gently and as generously as I could, tried to explain my thinking and why I worked the way that I did. And I think I did it with grace. And everything that happened after that was very much inspired by, influenced by, or impacted by that experience. So through that blog post, I then started writing for that blog. And then the blog turned into having opportunities to meet other practitioners that I ended up working with and other magazines that I started working with. And it ended up turning into an opportunity to do my podcast and be part of AIGA. And so almost every single thing that I've done since May of 2005, I can say almost all of it, if not all, came from that moment, which at the time felt like the worst moment of my life, professional life, and then turned out ultimately to be the defining moment in my professional life.
And that's very big, um, huge congratulations to you and to your work. And, for sure, there's a lot of, inspired a lot of people as well. So,
I
uh,
hope so. I think
yes,
you have to sort of see things over the long game. You have to really understand that what might be happening now and the perception about what you are going through right now might not ultimately be how you view its place in your life. That all of the things that are happening point you to something else that you might not even realize. When we're making changes in our lives, part of what makes it so difficult is that we don't always think about what we're going to gain. Because we don't know what we're going to gain necessarily. We have hopes, we have dreams, we have ambitions, but there's no certainties. Whereas when we are leaving something behind, we have that certainty. This is going away, or I'm leaving this, or I'm leaving that. So it's a very hard way in which to evaluate which is better, the thing that I already know or the thing that I don't know that I hope for. And oftentimes we have to let go of those other things in order to get those new things. We just don't always know that it's going to happen. And that is where we do need that courage again.
yes. And is there a common confidence hack, mental barrier, or pattern of self doubt that you've noticed to people often need to overcome truly step into their power and success?
Well, I think that the notion that confidence is required for almost anything. I think confidence is really overrated. I think that people wait for confidence to occur as if it is a lightning bolt, and it's not. It's an acquired skill, just like anything else. So I think the biggest mistake people make when thinking about growth and change is waiting for that moment. My motto now is, if not now, when? When is going to be better? You're never going to be younger or more beautiful than you are today. So start right now.
And we have a follow up comment from Jane. She says, "Thank you, Debbie. Do you think the way we present ourselves online is changing the core of who we are?" She says.
Yeah, I do. I've recently had to take a step back from social media because I feel like it's just not good for my mental health, and it's very passive viewing. I don't really know anybody that comes away from 30 minutes on Instagram feeling really good about themselves. because we're always looking at everybody else's accomplishments, and I don't know, it feels very exhausting. So I do think that there's a lack of vulnerability or genuineness in social media that can be very harmful because we're only seeing what people are manufacturing as their persona as opposed to the actual person.
Okay, and hopefully that question, Jane, that answers your question, Jane. For women navigating leadership, how important is cultivating deep, supportive relationships with other women? And what's the best, least imposing way to approach someone for mentorship?
I think it's critical. I think that our friendships and our relationships are what sustain us, what challenge us, what inspire us, what help us grow, and also are there to comfort us when we need it. In terms of approaching people, um, that's a really hard question because there's not one way to do anything. And so some people prefer to be contacted by mail, email. Some people prefer to be approached in person. So I think you have to get a sense of who it is you want to be mentored by and get a sense of their communication style and amend how you approach anyone based on how you perceive that person wanting to be communicated with. So just because you might like to be contacted by text message or by snail mail or whatever, you have to assume that everybody's going to have a different way of communicating, wanting to communicate. So do your research, find out how this person likes to communicate. Are they very extroverted? Are they on podcasts all the time? Are they always being quoted in magazines and newspapers? Then it might be best to try to contact them through their own website. Or are they somebody that really prefers more one-on-one opportunities or conversations? Well, then maybe if you're at a conference, tap somebody on the shoulder and say, hey, would it be okay to talk to you for a few moments? Don't just barge into their space and start talking. Always ask for permission, because I think that when you're asking somebody for something that they would be giving you, you have to be really mindful that that is a gift that you're asking for. And so you have to be very respectful of who that person is, what their communication style is, and amend how you approach them to how you see their preferences out there in the world.
Speaking of mentor, none of us are able to achieve success without some help along the way. Is there a particular person who you are grateful towards who helped to get where you are today?
Yes, absolutely. Three people that I can point to. First, in my 20s, a woman that I was doing a lot of work for in public relations. Her name is Karen Lippert. She had a firm called Karen Lippert Public Relations, KLPR, and she was one of my first mentors, first very important mentor. Also had a teacher in college that was a mentor, Professor Helen Reguero Elam. She really helped me feel like I could achieve more than I thought I could intellectually. Karen helped me broaden my network and gave me some of my first opportunities. And then more recently, Stephen Heller, who I co-founded the Masters in Branding program with at the School of Visual Arts. I consider him my fairy godfather because not only did he invite me to start the program with him, he also referred me to my very, very first book deal. And Seth Godin, who is not just my mentor, but also my confidant and advisor, and somebody I go to with questions and needing his opinion on quite a lot of things before I do them.
Oh, that's amazing. Whether it's a design challenge or a business issue, what is your personal or professional strategy for effective problem solving?
Can you say that again, please?
Whether it's a design challenge or a business issue, what is your personal or professional strategy for effective problem solving?
Understanding what the issue is, understanding the why. There might be an issue, but why is there an issue? Why does this have to be redesigned? Why does this need to be repositioned? What are the biggest issues facing the brand or the person or the initiative or the movement or the campaign? Really understanding the motivation behind doing anything is the most critical aspect to doing anything. Why does this need to be done? Why does it need to be done right now? And what is the criteria for success? Those are the three big questions that I would ask.
Oh, that's amazing. And we have this. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "Women are like tea bags. We don't know our true strength until we are in hot water." In life, how are you in hot water, Debbie? How are you brewing?
um, I'm actually quite good in emergency situations because I somehow lose my inhibition for, or my trepidation for moving into things. When hot water occurs, I tend to get very alert very quickly, and I rely on my instincts a lot more than just day to day, where I'm constantly like, "Oh, is this the right thing to do, or is that the right thing to do?" And so I'm probably much better in hot water than I am in room temperature.
And what is the number one book you can sit and think, "Oh, I wish I read before I started my career"?
Ooh, one book. That's a tough question. Seth Godin's book, All Marketers Are Liars.
Oh, yes, nice. And let's imagine that you could meet anyone in the world for a private breakfast. Who would it be and where would you choose to meet?
It would be Albert Einstein, and I would meet at the Museum of Natural History in New York, and I would ask him about the general theory of relativity and where and what he could envision in the future of astrophysics.
That's very nice. And can you please give us your favorite life lesson quote?
I'll quote myself because that's the first thing I can think of. Busy is a decision. We often use the notion of being busy as an excuse to not do something. And I think that we don't find the time to do things, we make the time to do things. And if we keep telling ourselves we're too busy to start to do something that we keep saying we want to do, chances are we probably don't really want to do it. We just want to say that we want to do it. But if we're not doing it, it's chances are it's not a priority to do. So busy is a decision.
Finally, the show is called Positivity Hack Delivered. What is one intentional ritual, mindset shift, or personal hack you use every day to protect your creativity, energy, and maintain your influence?
Well, I don't know about maintaining my influence, but definitely maintaining my energy is I walk a lot. And walking is a great way to think. It's a great way to burn off energy that you might not know where else to put. It's a great way to calm down. It's a great way to get out of yourself. So if you're feeling bored, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling a need to get a bolt of inspiration, take a brisk walk, walk for a mile or two. Just get out of your head, get back into the world. And I think it always helps recalibrate how I'm feeling.
Thank you so much, Debbie, for joining us here on our podcast, Positivity Hack Delivered, and your perspective on the art of influence, especially connecting branding back to the human story and providing such incredibly insightful career for advice for women, was truly inspiring. And for everyone watching, please go check out Debbie's award-winning podcast, Design Matters, and all of her phenomenal work. And Thank you so much, Davey. Thank you again for sharing your
Thank
wisdom
you.
and influence with our audience. And that's it from 196 of PhD Livestream. Thanks to our guest, Debbie Millman. To stay updated and ensure you never miss a positivity hack delivered, follow Women on IT and turn on notifications to be alerted once video has been released. Stay tuned for our next episodes. More details will be announced soon. And thank you for our fabulous team, Desiree, Jane, and Herminia. And as always, our positivity quote comes from positive thinking only and goes look for something positive in each day, even if some days you have to look a little harder. Today is your day. Hack the future, hack the positivity you want. Thank you.